Around 1200 BC, the Mediterranean entered a period of extraordinary destruction. Over the span of just a few years, the major cities of the ancient world were suddenly put to the torch. These massive stone blocks of the Lion Gate at Mycenae represent a world that seemed built to last forever. Yet Mycenaean Greece was devastated, and the Hittite Empire fell alongside it. History has traditionally blamed this collapse on the Sea Peoples, a group of marauders often cast as an ancient army of destruction. But we need to look past the boogeyman narrative. We first find them in the records of Pharaoh Ramesses III, who documented a mysterious coalition arriving in Egypt by land and sea. Treating the end of the Bronze Age as a simple murder mystery, a case of a single invader burning down the world, obscures the structural mechanics that were actually failing. The Egyptian scribes were specific, recording names like the Peliset, the Checker, and the Shekelish. These carvings show the people the Egyptians captured, a documented coalition with distinct physical characteristics. Despite these detailed depictions, their origin remains a subject of fierce debate. Theories point toward the Aegean or Anatolia, but their exact home remains unknown. Identifying their homeland, however, leaves a larger question unanswered. Why hundreds of thousands of people were suddenly forced into packing their lives onto boats in the first place? The Sea Peoples were not an unprovoked conquering army. They were the ultimate symptom of a world that was already ending. In reality, the Mediterranean was not a collection of isolated kingdoms. It was a deeply connected global economy. This reliance on distant neighbors created what we can call the interlocking dependency trap. This map shows how the trap worked. Bronze Age civilization required specific resources from specific places: copper from Cyprus, tin from as far as Afghanistan, and grain from the Nile. A single broken link triggers a catastrophe. If the tin supply fails, bronze production stops, which means tools and weapons disappear. One failure point creates an exponential collapse across the entire network. Around 1200 BC, the catalysts were everywhere: a simultaneous wave of earthquakes, years of prolonged droughts, and massive famine. Within the interlocking dependency trap, a drought in one region would starve local farmers and simultaneously sever the trade lifelines of empires thousands of miles away. This is the environment that produced the Sea Peoples. While often seen as warriors, the records show they traveled with their entire families and children. These were desperate fleets, forced across dark seas in a chaotic migration. Their violent arrival in Egypt was driven by displacement. Their homelands had been rendered uninhabitable by nature and the death of their trade networks. Egypt, under Ramesses III, managed to survive the influx and defeat these groups at the border. The terror of the Sea Peoples is that they were once ordinary citizens, forced into mass, violent migration to survive an apocalyptic systems failure. Egypt survived the immediate threat, but the international palace system that sustained the Bronze Age was permanently dead. And the Sea Peoples? They seemingly vanished from the historical record almost as soon as the fighting stopped. They disappeared because the bureaucratic apparatus required to record history had collapsed. When the empires that employed men like this vanished, the ability to write the story went with them. It is a reminder that when a hyper-connected system snaps, military might cannot save an empire from the fall. Civilizations rarely die from a single unified enemy. They collapse when the invisible, interconnected systems they rely on quietly stop working.